only thing we're here to talk about is charitable contributions. I'm gonna give you what I think we should do, and then y'all can discuss it. We've been doing this for 3 years. Let's be done with it tonight, okay? My suggestion is we fund the public library, the senior center, and the chamber. Y'all decide the amounts, and then the rest of it goes to UCHRA to help pay the citizens' water bills. They're gonna have a hard time paying the water bills because of the rate increase. Y'all can set the amounts, whatever you want to set them at, but that's my recommendation.
Which ones did you say?
The senior center,
Mm-hmm.
the library, and the chamber.
What's the total amount that we had?
And that's, it's on that paper.
Combined, it's like 30, that's right, okay, I see, I'm sorry, you're right.
So if we funded at the current amounts, how much would that be for the 30?
We budgeted $30,000 for this fiscal year. 7,500, 9,300. So basically 17,000 would be two, if we funded everything the same we did last year.
And those we get a direct benefit from, especially the chamber.
Well, not only us is a direct benefit, it's a direct benefit to the people that live here. I mean, our kids use the library, our seniors use the senior center, and we can, I mean, that's a direct, what it's for, so.
Three things, did you say senior center, library, and what?
Senior center, library, and chamber. And the UCHRA would be the additional money so that we don't have to include them in that.
So 30,000 would go to those three.
What about, we have $30,000 to spend. It's y'all's decision on how you want to spend it. Do you want to give $5 here, $5 here, $5 here, and the rest over here? Or you want to give 10, 10, 10, and none over here? Y'all have to make that decision.
I don't see a problem in funding at the current levels that we did the year before. And then hopefully what your plan is to take the rest.
That would be $12,500 would go to the U cards.
Would they be in charge of setting up?
UCHRA.
Would they be in charge of setting up the process on how people?
We've already talked to them, they already have a process in place, it would not be on the city to determine who gets it, it's on their criteria. And this 12,000 may sit there for 3 or 4 years, it's not something we have to keep doing reoccurring.
Okay.
Now, if they run low, we can, next year, we can put in the budget to give them X amount of dollars.
Okay.
So that's up to y'all, it's on the agenda too, so.
That does somewhat alleviate possibly citizens' concerns on that. Is there a certain criteria they would have to?
First time, it's like, I didn't think.
You're making me doubt myself.
Yeah, it's a federal program administered by HUD, and so UCHRA takes applications, and so they have to meet certain.
Okay. Okay.
We're doing good? The weather's better, right?
The weather's better?
Yes.
Well,
Not 100 degrees.
I like it hot. So.
Yeah, I do too, really, but most people don't. So you're even disagreeing with me about the weather today?
I figured we start off on the right foot.
I like it.
My world.
I like it.
See, but once we go outside, we get all the way out everything, see?
Yes, for sure.
There's been one suggestion, it was my suggestion that we fund the library, the senior center, and chamber, and the rest, leftover money goes to the UCHRA to help pay for the utility bills. And no one else is,
And I have a different proposal.
that's what we're here for.
Good. As you guys know how I feel about the investment in our nonprofits. So I love the idea of helping people pay their water bills, but I don't think we need to throw out the baby with bathwater. So I have a couple things to share with you guys as we try to make the best decisions for our citizens. Let me find my glasses, that'll be helpful. I always run in late on Thursdays, but I have a Thursday class at the spot with kids from juvenile court. And some of them I have to take home after we get through, so it's a rush. So, there at the top, it just says, and I'll read a little bit of what I've highlighted, we won't read it all, but in the spirit of community, faith, and compassion, we call upon the town of Carthage to consider making monetary appropriations like we have for the last 20 years before us. So obviously, leaders before us felt that it was a benefit to the city. So if we could make those again to the nonprofits located within the city limits. These nonprofits play a vital role in the well-being and prosperity of our community, providing essential services, support, and hope to those in need. And I realize that's what everybody wants to do here with these funds. By offering financial assistance to these organizations, the city can strengthen its social fabric, uplift its most vulnerable residents, and promote a brighter future for the town of Carthage, because I do believe it's a good investment. These are nonprofits from feeding the hungry to providing life-saving health care. Nonprofits address the diverse needs of our community that the town of Carthage doesn't have time to do, but definitely the town of Carthage benefits from. Just the nonprofits that I've worked for that are located in the town of Carthage, the Drug Coalition and the Spot, have brought in millions of dollars in grant funding to the town of Carthage. And mostly we serve here, but we do serve others in the community. So nonprofits work a lot of hours. I work a lot of hours myself that I don't get paid for. I took a cut in pay to go to the Spot because I believe we are changing the future of our community. So we serve our residents, we offer assistance in various forms, food, shelter, education, mentorship, and more to people that wouldn't have those otherwise. These organizations are not profit-driven, but they are mission-driven. Obviously, we don't do it for the money that we make, focusing on making a positive impact on the lives of our friends and neighbors in the town of Carthage and our county. Governments and nonprofits are natural partners. I know it's been said that taxpayers shouldn't do that, but even the town of Carthage itself gets grant funding. And so that's always been a good partnership between nonprofits serving the same constituents in the same communities. This partnership has been a hallmark of civic life for decades, even in the town of Carthage, with local, state, and federal governments entering into those same agreements with charitable nonprofits as we have over the years. There at the bottom, it talks about the challenges that nonprofits face. They work a lot of long hours, they do fundraising, and still serving our community in great ways. A couple other things that are on the back. Supporting local nonprofits is not only an act of goodwill, but also a wise investment. And that's what I've said at every meeting. It's an investment in our community, and we get a big return for it. Nonprofits located within Carthage are lifelines for many of our residents, providing crucial services that improve lives and strengthen our social fabric. By making these appropriations to these organizations, the city can strengthen the social safety net, promote economic growth, definitely, and that's part of what we do for our citizens, enhance quality of life, and when we do that and help people get back on their feet, they can pay taxes and they can improve our city. And then we address urgent needs that the town of Carthage or any other municipality is not usually in a place to do it. So I would urge you guys to think about finding other ways to be able to help folks with their water bills. I think that's a good cause too, but I don't think that we should take away from those nonprofits that are helping in the community in order to do that. The next page, the only thing I wanted to show you on that, and I've talked about this for many, many years as I've served the community, every dollar invested, but this is the most up-to-date one I have. Every dollar that we invest in prevention, the community gets back a savings of $4.60 for every dollar. So we're getting back a really good return. On the third page, so my suggested breakdown would be continue with the Chamber of Commerce at what we have been giving them, the Smith County Library, the same. I did go from $2,000 to $3,000 for the Emergency Management Agency because I feel certain the services they offer that their prices have gone up and their costs have gone up. And then, as we talked about in other meetings, how do we determine how much each one of these gets? And that's a really good question. So I divided the balance evenly between each of those that we've been giving for the last years, many years, most of these. and that totals to $30,000. My suggested assistance with the water bills would be to add back to this budget line what we removed from it, the $4,000 or more if the city would like to do that. But I would suggest not allocating it to UCHRA. I would suggest that we give it to a local proven nonprofit that already does that service for us. In fact, you don't have this, but I have a report from the Smith County Help Center that they have paid out for Smith County in either lights up to Upper Cumberland and Middle Tennessee water or gas bills. This year alone, and we're a little more than halfway through this year, they paid out $13,091.40, and about 75% of these clients are in the city limits. So I would suggest any money that we were going to give toward that it be given instead to the help center. They've been here, oh gosh,
Do we have all the
20
documentation
years.
for the people that they've done?
I don't have it, but I feel
I said, do
certain
they
they
have
have it. Yes, yes. She just, I asked her, I wasn't even sure they paid water bills. But if we already have somebody that's doing that and doing a really good job and raising a lot of local funds to do it, why would we not get the help center to do that?
Because
Rather than a
UCHRA
government.
does the same thing.
Well,
And
I'd rather use a local entity. That's just my.
we'll agree to disagree.
That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything.
No.
Let me ask you this. UCHRA has their, I guess, protocol. You have to fill out like an application. What does the help center have?
Same thing, and they've been doing that forever.
Same
You
type
have
of
to
document,
provide-
okay.
Yes, yes. I don't have theirs, but we could definitely look at that. But yes, that's why I was around when the help center started, and it was because there was a lot of people that were getting repeat help, and we wanted that central location where people that needed help could go there, and then we could all give to that location. So churches and other businesses give to the help center, and for 20 years, they've had a really strong board, and they've been doing this in the community, are already doing it. I would rather have a local entity do it. I don't have anything against UCHRA, but I know they do a lot of other things, but this specifically is what our local nonprofit here has continued to do with very little support from the government entities. But what we're investing in them, I think we're more than getting back. So I'd like to continue to do that and find maybe another way to help with water bills, because I think that's important too. So that would be my proposal for these funds.
Anybody else have any other proposals?
So between both your proposals, we both fund the chamber at the current level, right? 93 and 93?
That's y'all's call. I'd say yes.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to compare both proposals,
Yes, I would say
okay?
yes.
And both of you
I
fund the
agree.
library at $6,000 apiece. The only difference is Steve's, he funds a senior center, and you fund the Smith County EMA.
Yeah, I think, yeah. But I'm not opposed to those numbers being changed. That's just what I would advise, that I would think would help a lot of people, including help with water bills. I just think let someone do that's been doing it. But I think it's a really good idea. I just think the help center is already doing that, and they don't get a lot of funding. UCHRA does have a lot of funding.
But whatever funds these are for, it'll be designated only for water bills in the city of Carthage. It won't be just a donation to them to spend as they see fit.
And you're saying that you see, what is it?
UCHRA.
They have a mechanism
They
already?
said they can do that.
Okay.
And you're saying the same, that help center has the same mechanism as far as the
I don't know
application process?
how what their applications look like, but yes, I've seen them, I've worked with them on some special projects for, like the Angel Tree Project. So I know they vet everyone that comes in there. They have to have documents, they have to have proof. but they can get help. And I feel certain that if we gave a certain amount that was just to go to water bills, the board at the help center could make sure that it just went to water bills.
Is that something we could do, Andre, with that nonprofit?
Sure.
You know, we can donate to nonprofits, we just can't give directly to citizens.
Well, I knew that he said that, I just wasn't sure.
Well, we could designate, if we give this to you, this is what it's
Yes,
supposed to be
this is what
used
this
for,
fund is
specifically
for.
for water bills.
Right. And it wouldn't be, it may not be an ongoing donation either. I mean, next year, they may still have 12, 13,000, whatever you decide in there, so we'll have to get anything until it runs out.
So under your proposal, we would have to pull 4,000 more out of our general fund to make this happen.
Yeah, which was actually what we had designated in the past for that amount. That would just be a suggestion.
That'd be bringing us back up to the 34.
Yes. Or if the city felt more than that would be needed. I don't know what would be needed to help with water bills, I really don't. But my thought has always been give it to an entity that's already doing that. And they're very proven, they have a strong board. And they were put in place for that, to avoid, the reason I know they have a good way to interview each person is because that's what they were created to do. So that we weren't having any abuse, or as little abuse, you can't completely rule that out. And then evenly divide what's left, so that we're not showing favoritism to one group over another.
You guys know how I feel about it. I think they should all be down to 0. I think there's a couple in here that we've talked about before that aren't in the same category. Yeah, CHRA is one of those, according to Scott Ezel. He said, along with possibly the emergency agency, and there was one more. What was the other one? Was it the library?
Library and senior center probably.
Because I know we're in it. We had that discussion of government really shouldn't be involved in charitable contributions, but once they are, it's hard to get out of them. But it's really not. It's really just making the decision, we're not supposed to be in that. And these organizations, which are all great organizations, should be funded by the citizens and by their own fundraising. So if we do this, if we go back to this, we're back up to 34. What I was trying to do was, meet in the middle and say, well, let's at least lower this number. And now it looks like we're going back up to the original amount.
Well, other cities do give to nonprofits, so it is an acceptable practice.
There's a lot more people out there than getting in.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Government, what you're doing is you're forcing citizens to, because you're using their tax money. This isn't our money. It's one thing if we put our money, and I want to give money to Youth and Family Resource or Senior Citizen Center or any of these things. That's the hard thing to do. The easy thing to do is say, let's collectively take everybody's taxes and go help these organizations. And what you're doing is you're forcing the citizens to give to organizations that they may not agree with. We're doing the same thing on the federal.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're doing the same thing on the federal level. There's things that I don't agree with that my tax money goes to, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, there's citizens in Carthage that may feel the same way about some of these. It's just not right.
I did ask quite a few, and everyone was in favor of continuing to. Wherever I've been, I've brought it up as a discussion. I have not had one person say that we should not one Carthage citizen.
And I'm with you to an extent. Like a lot of these are organizations that, I've donated,
Sure.
or we can make an individual donation to the Emmanuel House, the
That's right.
backpack program. I look at like the Chamber of Commerce, though. That's something that the town gets a direct benefit from. I mean, the more businesses they can help attract in is another dollar that doesn't have to go to a property tax. We can get through sales tax. So they're out there actively trying to encourage new businesses to come in. We're a founding member of the chamber. It'd be very hard to say, we're just not going to pay you what we've been paying.
And that's a thought I had too, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we give incentives to businesses coming in. I don't see the difference in that in a nonprofit with the citizens' money, I really don't. We give incentives that you don't pay taxes for the first year, or we lower your property taxes for the first year to come in, because we know you're gonna be bringing dollars in. Nonprofits bring in dollars, just like businesses do, that we give incentives to.
I don't believe, in myself personally, I don't believe the two are the same, but that's your opinion. I think businesses getting discounts to come in to open a business benefits the community by jobs, more spending. And a lot of times, and this is gonna sound horrible, a lot of the nonprofits put a burden on the communities that they're in due to the nature of the business that they're in.
I guess my point with you, Jesse, was like, I can see someone donate to the Emmanuel House or the backpack program, but I don't think anybody's would go out and donate to the Chamber of Commerce, like
Yeah.
a citizen.
More in line.
Yeah.
They do get donations, though, and they get grants.
And
And that's what nonprofits do, they get donations and grants, so they're just asking the city to be involved as well.
Talking about the UCHRA part, they do get a ton of federal funding.
Yes, they do.
They get a ton of federal funding. I'll agree with that. That's, not that we couldn't make a donation either way. Help center, or to help with the water bill, I'm not saying that.
I just think we have to look at this tactfully. I think we have to handle the citizens' money correctly, and I just don't think that we've been doing that. And again, I go back to, I'm fine with a compromise, and it's just on, my side of it. I'm fine with a compromise where we look at some and say, yes, they don't get donations, like what, you're making good points there too, or not, they don't get as many as, say, some of these others would. And we keep those, or even lower those, but to be at the same number as we were before, I just don't think, I don't understand. I think we have to make some wise decisions
And
here
this may or may
that
not
aren't
be.
emotional.
This had to do with, if we're gonna help with water bills, that was a suggestion, that's how we did it, that's just a suggestion. But I don't think take it away from the nonprofits to pay the water bills. I think we're losing an investment if we do that.
I would say take away the water bills altogether. I would still take these down to zero, even if that wasn't on the table.
Well, we already have it in
One
the
doesn't
budget.
have, one doesn't have to do with the other, for me,
Okay.
whether the water bills get paid or not. I still stand on, we need to make some cuts here and treat this like we would at our own home. Again, it's easier to spend other people's money than our own.
But we've had 20 years of leaders that have seen the value in the nonprofits and contributing to them.
That is one viewpoint. Another viewpoint is that they didn't want to ruffle any feathers and make hard decisions and get rid of them.
That's good leaders.
Any more discussion in the workshop? All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn until 6 o'clock. o'clock, let's call the September 7th meeting of this Town of Carthage City Council. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Peters,
Here.
Councilman Elrod,
Here.
Councilman Gray,
Here.
Councilwoman Knappel,
Here.
Councilman Petty,
Here.
Councilman Warren,
Here.
City Attorney Griffin.
Here. First item on the agenda is consider approval of minutes as presented for the beer board minutes in the last month's meeting.
And the beer board has to get them sent out, and time some stuff out, so we have to redo them.
Okay, so it's just gonna be the city council minutes for August 3rd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no bills over $10,000 currently. Next item is citizens' concerns.
I have one thing I'd like to speak to for a second. Do I have to sign in?
Yeah, you just gotta sign in.
Okay, let me sign in. Okay, it's just a brief follow-up. I know a lot of people have probably already talked to you about this, but I think a lot of citizens would really appreciate it if y'all could come back to the table and just think a little bit more about the budget and the 33% increase. It's gonna hurt a lot of people. A few of us did look through the budget, and I just want to point out that for the last several years, there's been an abundance when you take the revenue minus the expenditures. Like in 2022, there was 300,000 abundance, 21, 262,000. And the thing that we're finding is it's gone up every year, but in 2021, it went from 747,875 to 897,000, which was almost 19% increase in revenue because we've got so many new businesses and new car wash. But then suddenly, the projections that we have for 2023 are not showing up on the budget y'all sent down there. It's gone from 897,000 down to 778,000. So we'd kind of like to just, maybe next week, CFO Rizal could meet with a few of us and just help us understand exactly how that 118,000, where is that? Because that would have made the difference. Part of the reason you're asking for 33% increase is that you don't want 2 years in a row to have a negative budget in your operating fund, but it wouldn't have been if those funds had been in the revenue. Even if you'd had the same revenue as last year, it would have covered your expenditures and you would not be in negative. We didn't even project being in the negative for 2022-23. So we would like to have a meeting, possibly next week if we could, to look over and see where this is, where those additional funds, maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's somewhere.
Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. How about that?
It could be just a misunderstanding, but we hope to
Yeah, that's not a problem.
figure out what it is.
We'll set up a time, we'll meet.
Okay,
I have to make sure, because I don't believe next week is gonna be a good week.
just
Well,
whenever.
I'm saying because it's
Yeah.
already just some stuff scheduled, so
It's
I
only
don't want you to
because,
think we're avoiding talking to you.
no, it's only because that was one of the reasons given in the public hearing for having to increase it, because you didn't want to go 2 years in a row in the negative, but we really weren't in the negative, so we're kind of wondering how those funds, how we can find those funds, I guess. Thank you. And thank you for putting this back at the beginning. I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Concerns.
Well, hello again. I wanted to come back down, and this will be my last time to bother you with this issue, but I wanted to check with you and see if you had a chance to look at my parking situation and see if you had any questions of me that would help us come to some consensus that, number one, there's an issue, and number two, it needs to be resolved, and hopefully we can do something. Does anybody have any thoughts or anything you want to ask me about my concerns? If you think they're not legit, then I will go to the house and respectfully disagree with you. But I think that I just would like to have some parking restored. So any questions that I can answer on your?
I do have a question. Did anybody talk to you about you're gonna lose parking in front of your business before it was
No.
paved and
Nothing was
striped?
said. I
So
just
think
looked. I just
that's-
looked out the front window and saw the stripes going in. So
How many spots did you lose?
at my calculations, there are at least 3 from the time those stripes go to the end. Now, not all those are mine, obviously some of them, the majority of it's in front of Kim's, but clearly I don't have much, and quite honestly, even since we've been here last, I've had more than one, well, several people, when they walk in, talk about the parking or lack thereof.
So if that crosswalk then was alleviated right there, if it was, that would then restore 3 parking spots?
Well, I don't know about 3, but it was certainly, if you reduced the crosswalk, put it further up, and got rid of those stripes, those safety stripes, it gives you at least 2 or 3, I think, that 2 at the minimum, 3 possibly. So I don't know, but I don't know what the answer is, but I know what the answer isn't.
Well, let me ask a question as to that. Is there some sort of regulation that dictates where that crosswalk should
I
be?
don't think it's supposed to be at an angle like it was, it has to be straight across
Okay.
the street.
It could be reduced, does it have to be that wide?
I don't know that now.
I guess my second question is, we've got one about 10 yards up from that. Are we required to have 2 right there?
I don't know that, I can't answer that.
Where are you saying the one up from that?
There's another crosswalk up there on the other side.
The other
Yes,
corners?
the other corner, which is about 10 yards. My question is, do we need 2 crosswalks right there, that close
I wondered
together?
about the angle too. That was because I had called and talked to you after last meeting. Is there a way we could compromise and get at least a couple more there in front of those, not just his business, but Kim's Frame and Art? Kim's Frame and Art has no mark.
None, absolutely. And like I say, she's expressed concern to me, but she's not gonna rattle the cage, and I don't care anymore because I'm old. Now, I'll just want some parking and some relief, and if you can do that, I'd really appreciate it. If you can't, I'm not gonna lose any sleep or friends, but I'd be sorely disappointed in that outcome. Okay? Thanks, folks, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Any more citizens want to talk? Okay. Next thing is mayor's report. Just want to give you an update. We have collected $63,450.92 in interest alone in our general fund in the last 3 months.
Great.
So we're doing good in the general fund. We've got 4 pieces of equipment we're selling on gov deals, which will put more money back in the general fund. Myself and the other 3 mayors had a conversation with Congressman Rhodes. Lasted a long time. It was a good conversation. It was positive. He said he'd do what he could. There's no guarantees, there's no promises, but he said he'd do what he could for us as far as helping us with the sewer grant. On our $7 million grant with a 10% match, we'll have an answer on that next month. That's a competitive ARP grant. We'll have an answer in October. And a lot of people talked about the traffic signal. I know that's on the agenda, but I got an estimate of $1,700 to take the turn arrow out. That's just replacing the bulb. Not moving the light or nothing, just making it a green light.
And this is which,
3rd Avenue, left turn lane, left turn arrow.
you're gonna take the arrow out?
That's what people have asked, that I got a proposal on how much it costs to do that. That's what was asked of me.
We just screw the bulb out.
Don't have I don't see the reason. I don't see the problem.
That's what,
myself.
you're asking good questions. That's good.
Can you do that? It's not really a bulb in there, so. We may have it out.
Take a BB gun and shoot.
Maybe it gotta work. We're trying to make things look better, guys.
Do bow and arrow.
It's just a little video. That's all I've got. Any department reports? I know Scott's got a financial report. Everybody else good? Okay. Scott, it's your turn.
Giving you a written report, and I'm going to call your attention to a few pages there. Once you've got that, I'm going to ask you to look on page 17, which is the year-to-date regulatory profit for water and sewer fund. Page 17. 2 months into the year without any increase, we're in a loss position. Just reiterate, we need a water and sewer rate increase for operations, not necessarily for moving forward, because inflationary costs are up there. For example, our rent has gone up 48%. The utilities have gone up. The
Everything.
Yeah, insurance went up 27% this year, actually 23% this year. So everything we've got has gone up. Plus all the capital improvements that we've already made in the past increase our depreciation expense, okay? And so for that has to be accounted for as well, because accounting principles say you're gonna have to replace it at some point in time, okay? So depreciation has gone up as well. So that's why we have an operating loss of $17,228. If you annualize that without any increase, you have a $103,000 loss, which is reported to you there on the report. Actual, I've added 2 reports so that you could better speak to constituents. I will send a copy of these to Ms. Smith, and she can analyze those as well, and anybody else that desires it. But the actual and projected cash flow, if you look on page 18, with the plan that we have in place, I just want you to look at a couple of figures. We start off at the bottom, the beginning cash flow, and if we're able to execute the plan that we have, we'll wind up at 1.5 at the end of the year. And this is a dynamic document. It changes based on the information that we get, okay? So you'll notice the first 2 columns are actual cash flow, and then the rest of are projected based on what we've got. And it does project with the additional rate increase included. But it also breaks out cash out. You know exactly what's being spent. The timing of it may be changing, but that's what's being spent and when we're looking to do it, okay? So you can see where the money's coming out and when. So that'll be for water sewer fund. Cash flow is one of the big reasons that we needed to have a rate increase. We have to have the funds to pay principal that we're going to incur, plus we have to pay the bills up front, and then we get reimbursed for them at the appropriate percentage. The next page 19, is the capital improvement plan planned out through 2028 for the water and sewer fund. And there you can see, I would ask you please look at it, okay? This will help you a great deal in answering questions to people. But if you look at that plan, if you see what's cash, what's loans, if you just look at the loans, I've highlighted a couple of things for you, and I'm not sure this has been fully grasped nor understood. Our existing loans on the books at 8/31 is $1,788,381, okay? Down below that, if you see total monies expended under a loan, $7,168,000, that is what our debt policy says we can afford. And that's based on mathematics, okay, and figuring out how much cash we have. That's what we can afford, okay, as far as loans actually on the books. But with the priority ranking list for June 2023, we have the maximum possible loan forgiveness and the monies that we would come up with. If you come on over to the right, the last 5 columns starts 2024, 2025, and so forth. Depreciable asset basic costs incurred by year, okay? If you just look on down, I've given to you the depreciable life of the properties that we're putting in place and the additional depreciation. That's additional to what we have now, okay? What we have now is increased, but it's going to be even more as we move forward, and this is how it's done. And I have those detailed calculations for you out of a fixed asset manager software if you want to analyze each and every asset that has been purchased or planned to be purchased. But that is the plan, okay? And it's one that's executable, and it's one that maximizes our debt availability. Every dollar of federal money that's come in that we've received has been used in accordance with prior administration and this administration's directives. Okay, it's all been used exactly. Most of it's been water sewer fund. Anytime you have questions, please let me know. Move down to, on my report, the financial metrics, general fund cash, $5.4 million. We have the bulk of that in the local government investment pool, which is earning 5.6% at the present time. Street aid fund, $121,000. If you recall, a big chunk was used for Main Street, and the rest we have allocated towards Smotherman. Once we have the water and sewer lines done, we'll pave, and we have funds coming out of street aid for that. Water sewer fund cash, $2.1 million. You'll see, if you look at your cash flow report, you'll see that it's down from last month. Insurance expense comes 4 times a year. Okay, didn't have it in July, that's why we had a profit. It hits in August, so there you go. And we had some other expenses that came out. General fund is very solvent. Water sewer fund is solvent. And our debt service ratio at the present time, at the end of August, is a 2.2 to 1 ratio, which is acceptable. We've set our goal at 1.5 to 1, so that we'd have that. Item number 3, the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System Actuarial Report for 6/30/2023. In prior years, which have been referred to, the town has experienced, when we put the pension expense or income based on the market and all those variables, it goes against that water and sewer fund profit or loss. Last year, we booked about $80,000 of profit just from the market adjustments and the actuarial analysis that came from TCRS. Well, this year, I knew it was going to catch up, I just didn't know for sure when. Well, this year, between general fund and water sewer fund, we will book $176,000 of pension loss. Okay, that gets allocated between general fund and water sewer fund. Okay, so how bad that will look, that'll come after our audit. These are variables that the common layperson doesn't even recognize, but it's what is required by generally accepted accounting principles and the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and that's how that works. So we will get hit this year. When the market goes down, like it has been down, that hits the whole pension. And we don't have any control of that. That is all computed by the retirement benefits people. It's an actuarial analysis for the whole state and every municipality. We just have to book it. Okay, so now when it comes to regulatory boards, they will pull out that pension expense because they recognize it's a book expense. But it's still something we have to put on our books and to be looked at and to know. So I'm just giving you a heads up about that. And then Cindy and Julie have completed 7 modules of the CMFO course at the end of August. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
No question. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. The first one's gonna be the contributions.
We have 2 proposals. I'd like to make a motion that we consider the proposal that I handed out to you all, that we, it's in front of you, where we would continue to look for ways to help with water bills, but that we would continue an even dispersion, is that the right word? Evenly giving out the appropriations to the nonprofits that serve our community and bring funds and jobs into our community. So that would be I would make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies for lack of second. I made the proposal that we donate to the library, the chamber, the senior center, and then the rest goes to UCHRA as far as assistance for water bills. But I didn't set any monetary numbers on either one of them.
Second for discussion of the monetary values.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to see this 34,000, come down significantly. Yours had who again?
The library,
Okay,
senior center, and the chamber. And if we could, I'd like to throw the rescue squad and emergency management in that also.
we're talking about, and those all being the same, correct?
I didn't set a monetary, that's for y'all.
Understood.
You set it whatever you want to set it at.
What does, I don't know, I have the paper, Senior Citizen Center currently get? 1,500, is that right? Senior Citizen Center, I believe.
15, yeah, it's 15.
So you're talking about 19,800. That would leave $14,200 if we kept it all at the current level.
And that would all go to CHRA, and now, you gotta remember, if they don't use up that 14,000, it doesn't go away, it stays in that account for the, we might have to even put it in next year for the water bill.
Is the money in a dedicated account for Carthage, or does it get pulled with everybody else?
I was told that it was gonna be a dedicated account just for Carthage City only.
Okay, I guess my concern would be if it wasn't dedicated, like another county could, or city
Yeah,
could
so
come in and,
anyone could walk in and get it, no, it's dedicated just for the town of Carthage.
They would use the UCHRA standards in approval, whatever,
It's the-
any other time they approve.
It's basically kind of the same standard as like
Okay.
food stamps.
Okay.
And
But again, let me remind you, we already have a local company, a nonprofit that does a really good job at that, and they've paid out $13,000. 75% of it went to the residents in Carthage. So we really need to look at who we want to oversee that. I'm sure UCHRA does a good job too, they do great things, but I really would like to see that go local.
Do we know who up there is in charge of it?
At the UCHRA?
Uh-huh.
Scott, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, Judy Sanchez, she is the Community Services Manager. The criteria they use last year, that federal money's come down for water sewer assistance. They've always been doing electric assistance. So they have criteria, and so the town of Carthage participated in that program. So if they came here and they asked for assistance, we sent them to UCHRA. They did their analysis based on the federal criteria, and then they would send a voucher over here and pay the bill. It was capped at $250 per year. So for UCHRA, we would do a similar thing, and they would make their criteria. We can give them criteria like cap it at 500, or we per person, or however you want to do that part. But they make the decisions. We don't make the decisions. We just provide the funding for the town of Carthage residents only.
I'm gonna make a suggestion for you. So you didn't have values in yours, you just had the 4 entities, right?
Yeah, the value's up to y'all.
If you look at what we funded the chamber, $9,300, I think is the number.
Right, it
The
is.
Senior Citizen Center is $1,500.
Okay.
The library is $6,000. And you said you also would include the Smith County EMA in that too.
Right.
I'm gonna suggest that you fund them at $3,200 and the rest would go to UC. That's 20,010, according to my math. You may wanna check my math on that.
Wait a minute, fund who is 32?
32 would be Smith County EMA. We already funded them at $2,000.
Okay.
I think the math shakes out to 20,010.
If we go the route with the local community health center, that they have the similar criteria they would use through UCHRA to determine who would qualify to be able to get that. If we was to say, let's use money to go through UCHRA go through one of our local entities here in town, do you know if they use that same type of criteria that UCHRA would use to determine
They
who?
certainly do, but we could look at that. I think we would have to look at that. Obviously, we don't have that here tonight, but they'll certainly do. We could definitely compare that if we needed to.
Question, do we need to have another, one more meeting outside of a regular meeting to discuss with all of that information. So it seems like we've got it kind of down, at least to this point, at,
I'm just gonna tell you how I feel about that. We've been talking about this for 3 years.
I know.
We
It's
need-
important. It's important.
We need to get the right decision that we've got. Let's do it right now. Let's just get it off the agenda
Well, if we need more
and move forward.
Are you gonna include values in your,
That's, I want y'all to set the values.
so that's my point. Now
Yeah.
that we've got that, we've kind of narrowed it down
So
to
y'all
your
want that,
proposal.
that proposal, is what you're saying.
We like the proposal, I like the, I won't say we, I like the proposal. I think we need some work on the values. And I think that would come with one more conversation outside of a regular meeting.
I agree with Vice Mayor Peters on that.
I make that motion that we have one more.
Do you wanna have it before the next, the October meeting at 5:30 again? Or do you wanna have a special call meeting somewhere in the middle, a workshop?
I think we might need more than 30 minutes for it.
So do you wanna do it at 5 o'clock, or do you wanna do a workshop on a different day?
How does everybody feel about a workshop? I know it's outside of a regular meeting day. Just tell me what you think. I'll make the motion if you, I'll make the motion and see if I get a second on it.
I'm gonna rescind my motion.
Make a motion that we have a special called meeting at your discretion, you call it, for at least an hour.
Second.
For contributions.
For
just-
contributions,
just-
that's right,
it.
nothing else.
What time do you want it? What's good time for everyone?
The 5 PM seems to be a decent.
Can you get 5 o'clock on Sunday, Sam?
As long as it's not
Thursday?
Mondays, for sure I can't. I think I can most of the days, but I can't guarantee that. Because my schedule, I don't know until about the first of the week.
Do you have to set the date today?
Well, no, I just wanna do
I
it
just mean,
now.
like inside, I know you do. I just
We
wanna do it
could do
now.
6 PM. I mean,
Yeah,
if that
it
would
doesn't
help
have to be
everybody else
Doesn't
be
have to
here
be
for that, I'm fine with that.
If I'm in Smithville that day, it's 7 o'clock before I get in. Nobody wants,
Let's shoot for the 19th, which is a Tuesday. That gives us the 2 weeks notification for everything. And we wanna call it at 5 PM or 6 PM?
I'm good with either or.
let's go 5.
5 PM on the 19th, special workshop on the charitable contributions.
Thank you, guys.
The next item on the agenda is welcome signs by Councilman Peters.
Yep, apologize, I'm still waiting for the numbers. I thought I would have them before the meeting tonight. I don't have them, so I'd ask that that would be pushed till the next meeting.
We're going to remove and add to the next agenda.
Yes, sir.
New business, first reading on CO 202-30907-1, ordinance regarding speed limits.
Last meeting, the council decided to create a uniform speed limit of 25 miles per hour within the city limits. We did that by motion because the speed limits are set by the municipal code. We have to do that by ordinance. So we prepared an ordinance to amend Title 15, Chapter 3 of the municipal code to create a uniform speed limit within the city limits of 25 miles per hour, with the exception of the Carthage bypass and the area fronting the community pool. I also wanted to let you guys know that there are other provisions in the municipal code setting a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit in places like school zones and playgrounds. And I wasn't sure if you all intended to rescind those and raise them to 25 or keep them the way they were. The ordinances I've written, it does not rescind those. So those school zones and playgrounds would remain 15 miles per hour per the municipal code. This would create a uniform speed limit of 25 miles per hour everywhere else except those 2 exceptions, the bypass in the area in front of the pool.
What is their speed limit on Main Street now? 30?
30.
30? I don't see a problem with that myself.
25 is awfully slow, guys.
Yes, it is.
Hold on, let's,
Okay.
gotta get into the motion and discussion.
The motion to adopt it,
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll do second for reasons of
Any
discussion.
discussion?
Okay, this is not scientific by any means, but last night, what I did was I drove my normal speed all the way from Walmart to Hardee's through town. I did it at the current level and also did it at the 25. There's a 2-minute difference. And that doesn't seem like a lot. But when you look at if someone's going to make a decision on whether to come through Carthage or go to the bypass, That might, I mean, 25 miles an hour is what the school zone is at the middle school. And you're going to be expecting people to drive that all the way through Carthage? I mean, you're going to be killing your businesses if you do this.
What about the people trying to walk across the street?
We just built brand new crosswalks for them.
Right, you run at 30 miles an hour, 25, might make somebody not get hit.
Now, I'll make the same comment that I did before. We have it set at 30, people go 35. If we set it at 25, I believe people will go 30. And I think 30 is where you're gonna be in the sweet spot where people are gonna be fine.
I just don't, if we do this, we're letting perfect be the enemy of good. It's okay right now, but going back to 25 all the way, and we haven't talked about Upper Ferry Road. Going 25 up Upper Ferry Road is a little bit ridiculous. What do you?
Might as well get on a skateboard.
You might as well. I mean, you're going to have a line going out the bypass if you do this. I'm just warning you right now.
I have a comment. I was going down, of course, I'm old. I was going down Main Street, heading to the post office just this week, and there is a young lady in my lane. I'm going this way, she's coming this way. She is coming toward me to hit me head on. She was completely in my lane. I don't know if she was distracted, what was going on, but I was very thankful that we're talking about this when she was coming at me head on Main Street. So I still think lowering it a little bit, it's not gonna be a huge pain to anybody, but it could save some lives.
Can I ask Chief Davis a question? Excuse me. How many wrecks have we had in the last 3 months on Main Street? On Main Street.
Specifically in the downtown area?
Yeah.
I know of one for sure.
Was it speed related or?
That was a rear ending. Somebody just rear ended the back of somebody else.
But we don't know if it was speed related. It could have been distracted driving or something like that.
I think
Could have, I don't know.
I think he advised he thought the brakes had an issue. You know how that usually works though. So to answer your question, I think he just probably wasn't paying attention and rear ended somebody. That's
I'm guessing, my point is, if we had like a string of motor vehicle accidents in Main Street, Upper Ferry Road, and speed was the cause, I could absolutely see doing this. But if it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
I can say, we did have one other one too the other day, and it was, somebody was turning and somebody else was turning at the same time and they didn't see each other, so that was related to both of them really not paying attention kind of thing. That was not speed related, that was turning related, not paying attention.
I think too, there's the difference in those two things are being proactive versus being reactive. So if we wait until there's a string, if there would even be any, there's no way to predict that, then, I mean, we'd be being reactive to the situation instead of looking forward a little bit.
I just think, and
Yeah,
I get that.
I think it goes to 30.
I think that you're going to have an adverse effect on our businesses downtown if you do this. Because there's some people out there that will not, that they do not want to break the speed limit. They want to break the law. And you're going to be going 25. 25 is very slow through Main Street.
I'm to back out down there pretty darn fast.
But with the new angles, it's a whole lot better.
It helps.
help, yeah.
Wait till somebody gets hurt and then we change it, right?
And I think that's what we end up having to look at. Once there are, if there are, then we'll be talking about, well, maybe we need to lower this by 5 miles an hour.
Now, remember, this is the first reading, so we still have to have a public hearing next meeting to hear about what the public thinks on it.
I think the Upper Ferry deal, I think 25 is too slow for there. I do.
They didn't want to change it because it makes a speed trap.
Yeah.
And all I asked for to start with was right, from the bank to the post office.
I like it being universal. So I would, my motion, and of course, we're still in discussion, but my motion would be to approve it tonight. Let's have a public hearing and hear what the people have to say about it, and let's go from there.
Is there a chance of doing that, combining that with the other special meeting that we've got? Maybe allot 15 minutes for that discussion
No, we're required to have a public hearing on the ordinance anyway, so it'll be in our next meeting anyway.
during the meeting?
Yeah, it'll be scheduled. Well, it'll be before the meeting, before the regular meeting. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Elrod.
No.
Councilman Gray.
Yes.
Councilwoman Knappel.
Yes.
Councilman Petty.
No.
Councilman Warren.
No.
Vice Mayor Peters.
Yes.
And I'm gonna vote yes. 4 to 3 carries. We'll have a public hearing on it next month. Now remember, just because it carries tonight doesn't mean it's going to carry next month. All right, the next one is water sewer account write-offs. We've come up with a number of accounts that have been written off that we cannot collect. We just want permission to write them off. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the write-offs.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is there a reason we can't collect on them? That can be discussed.
Yeah, Scott, would you just give a quick why?
These are accounts that have been delinquent from 2015 to 2020. And we have no idea where those people are at. Most of them, we've given, I don't know where they're at.
Understood.
So we're just wanting to clean up the books and trying to get everything as we can accurate as possible.
And
Good deal.
the amount of money it would cost to try and locate and hunt them, that's not worth
Yeah,
it.
the total is $16,000, and the average of that would be it's around $45 to $50.
Will they be on a list that they can't get water again until they pay their back bill if they come back later on?
We can do that.
We should do that.
I mean, that's
a good idea.
If they don't, you got their deposit, it ain't much, but they can't get water till they do correct it.
What is the deposit?
$200?
$250.
$250.
I don't remember.
So are we able to add that in with the motion? Like, can he amend, I guess, it'd be an amendment to the motion
Yeah.
to add that in?
Yeah.
You'd have to make that though, I think.
Okay, I'll rescind my motion. My new motion is I make a motion to approve the write-offs with creating a list of existing people that owe the city money and not to be able to get water until the money is paid off.
Previous debts paid.
Previous debts paid.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Do you want a roll call vote, Mike?
Yeah, let's do a roll call. Sorry. Thank you.
Councilman Elrod?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilwoman Knappel?
Yes.
Councilman Petty?
Yes.
Councilman Warren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peters?
Yes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a traffic light arrow on the square by Councilman Elrod.
Yeah, had some people reach out to me, some constituents, some business owners. At Third, is it Third?
Third Avenue.
Yeah, Third Avenue and Main Street. Of course, people that have talked to me really rave about how nice Main Street is with the paving and everything now. But one question that comes up is the arrow is still there, the turning lane is gone. And they're like, why is that like that? Well, wait, I guess that hasn't been addressed. They tell me I don't come through when it's really bad, but I've been told that it backs up there. So wanted to look at possibly removing the arrow and seeing what it costs to do
That
that.
would be $1,700, so that was $1,700 I got.
And maybe moving moving the lot over to line up with the lanes too, because it's off-centered right now the way it goes through there.
Right, now my question would be, okay, there's no turn lane, but you can still turn left there.
If you can get through.
It'd be
Yeah, well,
impossible
if
to
you
do
work through the
though.
next one to light, you could turn left. and
But what I'm
get
saying
down.
is, as far as the arrow goes, the
Not
arrow,
if somebody's coming from the other way though.
What?
You'd be
If
blocked
it's
from
still,
doing it.
if it's still on the arrow, they can't come through.
that's what I'm saying. If you're in the turn lane and you got an arrow, you can go.
Right.
So if you're the first car, you're not turning, you wait, green light goes. They still have to wait. The arrow's gonna maybe help that one person, but it's not gonna hurt nothing there. It has no, they're not stopping people from turning left.
I see.
It's just an arrow.
It only helps the first person.
Yeah, it helps the first person. No, I mean, why spend money to take it out when it's not really?
I guess there's no turning lane there anymore. Every other lot we have in town doesn't have one.
No, I was just asking. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, why spend the money on? Go ahead.
Whenever y'all get a chance. I did pull over a person today, actually, for him being confused about that. He was behind a person. We were going northbound. He was at the light. The light was green. The person in front didn't go. He thought he just wasn't paying attention, so he went around him to the left. Of course, I pulled him over because we weren't supposed to do that. And he's just, well, I just thought the guy wasn't paying attention. And I've 2 times I've pulled somebody over for doing that now. I think it's a little confusing. Not saying y'all need to do anything about it.
I mean, driving 101.
I know. And I've had somebody else reach out to me and ask me if it was something, if y'all were gonna do away with that, if you were gonna alternate or northbound versus southbound. In other words, northbound go, southbound has a red light, and then vice versa.
That
may
gives
be
people the
some-
opportunity to
That
turn.
gives people the opportunity to turn,
That's a good idea.
That was gonna be
or
my
go
suggestion,
straight.
just to
It's a good
do
idea.
like do the Walmart light.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one goes and put, is there an arrow on going the other direction too?
Yeah, northbound and southbound.
I say we just reprogram it and let maybe a 10-second turn.
You can try it for a while, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna hurt anything. You can try it. They can come up and reprogram it. Probably won't cost a whole lot to reprogram
Be a lot cheaper
it.
than moving light bulbs for $79.
Does that still take care of the one that's off center though?
Well, if it,
I mean, that's more
Nothing's
cosmetic
centered
than
down there
anything.
anymore than you-
Yeah.
nothing's
if we get them out
centered
here, I'll
down
see
there
what it
anymore.
costs to
Square,
move
is
it.
it?
Seriously, I mean,
That's
it can't be that much to move it on that line.
Yeah.
But that
So
may not-
are we good with that? Get with Stancil, see, get
Yeah.
reprogrammed and try that out? How long do you wanna try it for? 60 days?
Yeah, let's go
months,
2
please.
cycles. I'd say.
60 days? All right, that's what we'll do then. All right,
Do you know when they'd be able to do that? Like when it would start, I guess.
I have to call them and see, but it shouldn't take them long, they're pretty good about coming up, so. Now, do you want me to go ahead and have that done? Do you want to hear what it costs, or you want me to go ahead and have it done? If it's under 10,000, I can approve it myself.
I'd say let it,
Go
If
ahead.
it's
and
under
do it.
$10,000, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I would like an email, at least to let us know.
How much it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
At least
good.
that.
I can do that, not a
Thank you.
problem. But I want to get on that tomorrow and get it done, so.
Sure.
All right, the next one is discussion on changing our auditor. Scott has come to me, and we've used the same auditor for quite some time, and I believe that the city's outgrown his professional abilities, if that makes sense. We're looking at going with a bigger firm and possibly getting a more accurate, not accurate, but a more thorough audit. So, but there's a substantial price increase.
Do we know how much the increase would be?
Yes.
How much is it?
The thing is somewhere about $32,000 as opposed to, was it now 6 or 8?
$8,600 just for the audit.
Just for the audit.
and the other would be 32,000.
Right.
What are we getting? I guess that's my question, is what are we getting for that? And I think it's,
And how do we know? I mean, how will we know it's gonna be,
and I'm not saying yes or no to it, I just.
How are we gonna know it's what? I'm sorry to hear.
that it'll be any different than what we have?
Well, because you have different firms that handle things differently. This is a major firm, and I want to use our attorney for example. I mean, we pay our attorney professional money. We get a professional job. We need to start stepping up and moving the city forward instead of just saying, well, we've done it this way for 30 years, we've got this audit, everything's good. But I want to make sure that we're doing everything the right way. Maybe they catch something that we haven't caught. Maybe
Is this something that we need to take bids on?
we take bids with professional services, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you may. You have more knowledge about it than I do.
First, I've spoken with Mr. John Poole. He's a wonderful guy. There is no problems working with John Poole.
Right.
I operated as a sole proprietor for decades, and it has nothing to do necessarily with the size of the firm. What it does have to do with is the support and the depth of analysis that we would have access to. One of the premier reports in the state of Tennessee and across the United States is to be able to put together what's called an annual comprehensive financial report. And what that is, it adds to our audit additional statistics, additional analysis tools. It gives the public the very best municipal report that is possible. That's my goal, is to give the public the very best. We're just town of Carthage, people would say. I've already told you, let's lead, let's not follow. So that's my goal. This firm is a much bigger firm. They're southeastern, but we sent out requests for proposals to 5 different firms. We were testing the waters, okay? This is not an indicator on Mr. Poole, okay? So, but it is you needed to have an opportunity to say, we want to pursue something different. Some people, some firms, some clients over the years, they will only stay with an auditor for a certain number of years because they want a fresh perspective to look at things. Okay, so my goal is to protect the town of Carthage and do the very best so that we've done everything we can do. For anybody looking at it, we've done the very best that we can do. So, yes, does it cost more? But it does cost more.
That answered my question.
So, there is, I talked to Mr. Poole this afternoon. I was going to wait to speak to him after I found out the results of this, but a citizen called him, and so in turn I had to call him back. But in any case, the cart got ahead of the whole thing. I'm good. We have a contract with Mr. Poole in place for this fiscal year. We can go right that way. We did speak with the comptroller's office and say, well, what could we do if the council chose to do something? And we can do that. Once again, I spoke with John today. He's a good man. That's the vision that I have for our finances, to be as best as we can be. And ultimately to obtain recognition from the Governmental Financial Officers Association as being one of the premier in Tennessee. There are others that are there in Tennessee. We can be as well. Now, is it worth $32,000? There's a reason you can operate as a sole proprietor for a whole lot less money, okay? I know, I've done it, okay, but I've also been part of a larger firm. When you hire people, it takes additional funds and so forth to do that. But I'm good either way, but that's why we wanted to explore it. I feel that's my professional responsibility to give you options when you may not have been able to think about those options. I'd rather be proactive than I had to be reactive, okay, as we mentioned before. But I'm good. Whatever direction you want to go, and John and I are good. And I told him I'd call him tomorrow morning with whatever you decide to do.
How did you select this company again? You may have said that and I missed it, but how did you
I selected 5 different companies throughout Tennessee and others that I researched. The firm that I really wanted to go with couldn't work us in this year, even if we decided to go that route. That was Kraft CPAs out of Franklin.
Are they more expensive or less expensive
They would be a little less expensive.
than this one?
Yeah. But they couldn't send a quote to us. Maggart and Associates does audits for like Citizens Bank and others here in town. I'm familiar with them. Mr. Maggart knew he would do a good job, but they don't do municipal audits, which I wasn't aware of. And the others we haven't received a response from. But this firm responded within 48 hours of telling us this is what we can do. And then within a week, we had a detailed portfolio of not only their staff and who would be working on it and the partner and all of that out of Chattanooga, but they're a southeastern firm, primary headquarters in Atlanta. But I've done this long enough to know it's not cheap, okay? But it's not necessarily the quality thing, but it's maybe some additional enhancements that can be done based on more personnel within a firm who would have some additional knowledge more so than what a sole proprietor can do. I had limits when I was a sole proprietor, and I knew that, and so sometimes I'd refer them on to larger firms or tax attorneys or whatever, so.
What type of contract would we look at?
We can do it year by year, but the contract itself is given out by the comptroller's office. It has to meet their criteria, and that's what I sent out with the request for proposals. So, they knew what they was looking at. This is a big firm, probably the biggest one of the bunch, but they responded the quickest and most professionally, and that makes a difference to me. But in any case, we'll do whatever you want to do. I'm sure we could get them next year if we want to just continue with what we're doing now. I just wanted you to have an option and a choice, opportunity to make a choice. Okay.
Mr. Poole done anything wrong that hadn't been right like it's supposed to be?
I think everything has been materially correct. There have been some adjustments that are made, but once again, I'm probably the only CPA that he has to deal with. I'm not the only one, I'm sure, but let's just say I got a little bit more background and experience to know what to look for and questions to ask. Does that answer your question?
I guess, just because it's the highest don't make it the best.
No. I agree with you there.
Well, you said that's not the one that you would have went with. The one that you wanted to go with was cheaper than this one.
Yeah, and they couldn't work us in this year.
But they would maybe be able to next year.
Yeah, I think,
Check
we
craft.
send out the,
I'd make a motion that we stay with what we've got right now with Mr. Poole, and then look at next year, if they can fit us in, look at it at that time.
Second.
All in favor?
very good, we'll make it up.
That's the last item on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.